Moving on to item number 7, discuss and consider taking action on impact fees. And I will defer to Kyle McCain, our city administrator at this time.
The city is looking at doing some annexation, and we're getting requests for annexation, and we're getting this request from some of the property that's out east of town, where we're going to have to be putting in new facilities, specifically a lift station and potentially either water lines or a ground storage tank to serve that area. Now, the area to be served, the immediate need would be for the folks at Rainbow RV Park, or Rainbow, I'm not sure what else it's called, Rainbow Village, excuse me. That really has pushed us into doing something about impact fees, because now it's not required to do impact fees, but if the city is going to be out $350,000 for a lift station, and that's just an estimate, plus some other money for collection lines and manholes coming from that corner to the lift station, where the lift station might in fact be located, the city's going to be out a pretty good chunk of money. Now, there's several ways to pay for it, and some of those include, of course, borrowing money and paying it back over a period of time from use fees, from the water and sewer collections. Another idea is for the impact fees, also called special development fees, and an area that's going to have the city put some money into it. Then it becomes a question of how fair is it for the people, the citizens now, to be putting their money, which is the money that's in the water and sewer systems, how fair is it for them to be putting all the money up for someone else to build a development to make money off of it? The way to get the fairness back into that system is impact fees. Now, the state of Texas has a legislation that deals with this directly. And in the past, the cities pretty much had anything they wanted to do as far as setting impact fees. You could take the cost of the sewer plant, yes, or the cost of the lift station, the cost of the lines, divided by the number of people who think are going to be out there, and then basically use a little bit of magic and whatever you want the fee to be based off of that. It's much more controlled at this point, and in fact it's required to have a committee of 5 persons to look at this issue to determine whether or not you want impact fees and what those fees might in the future be, and this committee can make a recommendation. Not only that, but because it affects the growth of the community, the state law requires that of the 5 persons on this committee, that 40% of that committee be drawn from people who are either builders, real estate people, or developers. And that way they can put their input into the discussion of whether or not impact fees would be too high enough to stop any kind of development, or balance out the city side of it, saying that we need a certain amount of money to start this project. There's quite a bit involved in it, because you have to consider things like how many people would be served by these lift stations or these facilities, what's the length of time it's going to be required, and right now we have the engineer, Chris Hay, who's not able to be here tonight, by the way. He is working on providing us some data, because one of the things that we've asked him to tell us, based on, they have a proposed lift station that goes back some years. And based on the design of that lift station, how many people will it in fact be able to serve? And that number, he doesn't have that division out yet, but when he gets that to us, then we'll have something we can go by to start a basis for developing impact fees. Because we have an estimate of what the cost is, we have an estimate of the number of people. But does that lift station, include how much? I'm unsure what that design criteria currently is. I know that everything on the Larry Smith property on the downhill side to the east would be on that lift station. But is there any other property along 144, however far out 144, that would also go to that lift station? Unsure about those numbers. I haven't been given that yet. But in doing all of this, we need to appoint a committee, if you're interested in determining, looking at impact fees. Now, it might be that the committee comes back and says, no, we're in good shape, we don't need to do that. I'd be a little surprised. Water, we might be. Sewer, we're gonna be putting in a new sewage treatment plant. And one of the things that they look at impact fees, about is the capacity of your facilities. For example, we have a 600,000 gallon a day wastewater treatment plant currently. And if it's, at its maximum and someone wants to build another subdivision that's gonna add a few hundred homes, they're gonna have to pay for the increase in the capacity of the sewage treatment plant. Now, we're in the process of increasing our plant now anyway, and part of that design is for future growth. And so you'll have part of the discussion will be whether or not we should include that, in the cost of the impact fees. Part of that discussion, when Jim and I were working with the TCEQ expert about these fees, the fact that the homes will be on the sewage treatment plant for the next 50 years following that, that also comes into effect, because that in fact is what pays for the sewage treatment plant capacity, if in fact they are financed over a period of time. So there's a lot of things to look at, and what I'm asking the council to do, if you're in fact interested in impact fees, to go ahead and appoint a committee so we can start working on this.
Discussion? Councilman?
Yes, the impact fees with the committee, they develop I guess, a fee in itself and present it to the council. Because my only concern is I don't want a high enough impact fee that's going to discourage people from wanting to annex into the city.
That's exactly why the purpose of the committee is to bring other people into it, the developers and builders. And I have spoken with, we have two people that I've spoken with about representing that particular group. One of those is Drew Myers in real estate, and Anthony Rufino. And both of those folks are on other committees of the city, so they've already been vetted by the city and they have an interest in the city. So it was easy to get them, But what we don't want to do, unless your goal is to stop growth, you can put, like some of the cities, for example, one of the cities on a 10-inch water meter and the corresponding sewage tap, the cost is $615,000 for an impact fee. And that's 10-inch, that's big. That would be an industrial size thing. In an industry, you do something like that, you may even shut down the industry. But for homes, you've got to be much more careful in what your numbers are. Some of the cities, and I called all of the cities in this area about from like 35 all the way back up to about 35 north, around the west side of Fort Worth. And most of those, not all of the cities have impact fees. Alvarado does not. They're looking at those this year. Aneta does not. They're looking at it this year. A couple of other cities that don't have it are looking at it. Justin has some of the highest. Willow Park has some of the highest. Hudson Oaks, I don't remember where their spot fell in, but you've got 6 of the 10 have impact fees. 2 of the 4 that don't are looking at those at this time. So it's, what you don't want to be is the only person out there that has them in the highest, because then the development's going to be going other places. So your point is extremely well taken. That's why we expand the board.
Councilman Martin?
I know she said, I think Granbury had an impact fee.
Yes, they do.
What about Steveville?
Stephenville, I didn't call them because they're farther out in their larger city, and I honestly bet in my paycheck that they do. But most of your larger cities, medium-sized cities do have impact fees.
Councilman Ramsey?
My suggestion is that we have a procedure that anybody wants to serve on a board, and to me this is considered a board, that they fill out an application, and therefore I would like to see the mayor, yourself, fit into the 40% and give the application so they can be brought back to us to make the decision. I don't feel qualified to make a decision on, I know about Drew Myers, I know Anthony Rufino, but to get 3 others, I don't feel comfortable do it. I'd rather
The other
make
three will be
sure.
council.
Huh?
The other three will be council.
I thought this said that it cannot be a council, it cannot be elected official or employee.
The
On
40,
this thing,
the
on
40,
that.
the 40% that's cut out cannot be. That is my understanding of that. First three can be elected officials.
Okay, let me go back and look at that, because this you just gave us, and
Yes.
that's what I'm
Tell you
trying.
what, I've got another copy of that. I can give that to our attorney to look at.
I mean, I'm just not comfortable making a decision on something I've just been given, because it takes me a while to digest.
What page is that?
That's what I'm looking for now.
Okay.
Okay, it's number 2 on the 3rd page. Well, yeah, number 2 on the 3rd page, capital improvement. Advisory committee. The statute requires the committee be appointed sometime before the ordinance, and then 40% of the members, and it says, and not employees or official cities. And to me, that says, it's talking about the whole membership. The second paragraph, where it says the appointment of the 5 members.
So you're saying that the 5 members must not be elected officials, or you're saying that 40% of the 5?
No, I'm reading it that, it just says at least 40%, and then I'm reading the second part is that no employees or elected officials can be on that committee. I may be reading it totally wrong, but that's,
To me, it's, you can, of course, elect up to 5, so if the city is recommending the 5 or 6 is what we're recommending. 5,
5.
so 40% of 5, which is what, 3? 2? 3, of course, see how good at math I am.
2.5.
So 2.5. Round it up. If we can get half a person, it'd be great. So that leads me to believe that, of course, 2 people cannot be members of the employees or a elected official.
That was, I'll say that was the discussion I had with the Texas Municipal League attorney who sent me this information. She didn't spend a lot of time dwelling on this, but that was her, cursory take on it was the 2, you have to be from builders, developers, real estate, and the others, and those are the ones that could not be employees.
Councilman Jones, you had a comment?
I'd like to get the clarification again from TML on that one, because I would agree with Sandra, and the way I'd read it says you can't be a member of the official of the city. They want 40% of them to be the builders, but they want, I think they want the other 3, or the other 60% to come from someplace else.
Yes, Councilman.
okay, if you're all on that same page, go to the 3rd paragraph. And number 5 says advise the city of the need to update and revise the land use assumption or impact fees. If it's an elected official, one of us, that means we have to abstain ourselves from voting on something on a committee that we're on. If I'm on that committee,
So that's the attorney.
and I make, that's
Good job.
Over here, no, she's on the same paragraph 2, but it's the 3rd subparagraph.
it's where it says the advisory committee purpose is, and it gives 5 things, and the last thing says, they advise the city.
I don't read that can't be elected.
Mayor, you mind if you give me a couple minutes to go through the whole thing? So I
Sure.
decided not to look at the
Well,
commission
and
advance
I,
to
and
those.
I understand where you're seeing it that way. That wasn't what the attorney with TML said. And the fact that they're gonna be looking at the CIP, which is the Capital Improvement Program, I think it'd be fairly important to have someone very close to the city involved in it. Honestly, I don't know the answer to your other question, whether or not you would have to recuse yourself.
Mayor?
I would
Yes,
like
sir.
to know.
Just throw my 2 cents in here. One, I feel like we could probably have council on that committee, but I don't see that we can have 3. I can see, it seems like that I recall us being able to have 2 council per committee because of open meetings. The second is, concerning what Senator Ramsey said, was the fact of abstaining. I don't think that a council person has to abstain unless they have benefit or potential of gaining monetary money within that vote. So I think that's good as well too. So my concern is the quorum.
It depends on who if it's 3 individual council members, you're correct. If it's 2 council members and the mayor, then they would be able to do that. Because that would not be a quorum.
Mayor's recommendation, if you'd like me to, I can take a look at this, and maybe we can bring this up next council
Okay.
meeting.
Okay.
Y'all.
Okay, we will,
We can get this question resolved,
Sure.
one dealing with, of course, the quorum, the 2 could serve, and then, of course, abstaining from a vote if you are elected official, able to serve on the committee, so.
okay, so we will seek a motion to postpone item number 7 to next month's council meeting.
I make a motion that we postpone the impact fee item until the next meeting when we can have time to review and our
I'm not sure what the date of that is.
council person,
January 12th.
our council,
Okay.
legal counsel has
Okay.
time to do research.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilor Martin to postpone item number 7, discuss and consider taking action on impact fees to the January council meeting.
Councilman Ramsey.
What did I say?
Martin.
Councilman Ramsey.
I'll
I'm
say,
the only female here.
I'll say.
Okay. Councilman Martin will second that motion. All those in favor? Any opposed? Let the record show 5-0 in favor of postponing item number 7, discuss and consider taking action on impact fees.